Hey, it's Kate, and welcome to Habit 1 in Body Thrive. So Habit 1 is all about the earlier, lighter dinner. And someone from a previous book club asked, why did you decide to, come up with the habits in this order? And it is worth noting, I always like to start with what's going on the night before a day I want to feel great. Because if I try to start in the middle of that day or the beginning of that day, I've already actually sort of blown my wad, if you will. So the idea of starting the night before a day that you want to feel great, which for me is almost every day. Like I really have gotten a little bit of addicted to feeling awesome. And I hope you do too, because it's awesome. Is I know that basically if I eat heavier or later, the next day I'm going to feel groggy. I'm going to have more joint stiffness or even joint pain. If there's places that are inflamed in my body, the inflammation will be much worse the next day. If I start the night before and I say like, okay, I'm just going to do what I should do based on experience of how to feel great. I should eat an earlier and lighter dinner. What happens is I end up going to bed earlier. I end up sleeping better. I end up waking up earlier with more energy. So that's why we start with earlier, lighter dinner. For many people, this is a hard habit to break because our culture eats a heavier, later dinner. For many people, it's the main meal of the day. It's the main relaxation point too, and you sit down and eat this big meal and feel that actually really nice feeling of your stomach getting stretched out by food, which creates this level of satiation. But it's one that is a double-edged sword. And so when we start to want to change this habit, there's a lot of things that we might miss. One is we might have a family that just eats later. And this might initially just bring up so many issues of how am I going to get this to change? And you can read in the Body Thrive book, in this chapter, just different stories of how different people navigate it. And sometimes what we find is that people end up sitting with the family later and just eating earlier by themselves just to experiment. What will it feel like the next morning if I eat an earlier, later dinner? And before we need to think of this needs to be forever, that this change has to be forever, that I have to figure out this for my whole family and existing social structure right now. If we can just set that aside and say let me experiment. What do I feel like if I eat an earlier, lighter dinner? That's really where you want to start. And for some people, it just might be switching from a 15-inch plate to a 10-inch plate so that we're eating a little bit less and we keep the same time. For other people, it might just be moving dinner 15 minutes earlier. Other people might just be like, hey, I'm jumping in with both feet and I'm going to eat an earlier, later dinner. I'm going to have a big salad around 5:30 p.m. and see what happens, or a big bowl of soup, and just see how I feel. And, wherever you're at, that's where you want to start. All right, we'll see you next week with Habit 2.